Yeah, so my name is Adam Procter. I'm the program leader for games design and art. I'm also a researcher and practitioner at Winchester School of Art, obviously. And so the idea of these short videos is to give you some insight into some of the practice and research that the department undertake that might inspire you for your games design module. So I guess you could put that at the beginning of all of them. Maybe they watch this one first. So I'm in a research group or sometimes research lab, depending on who you talk to, called Ludic Ecologies. You can obviously look that up as a term, but for me it's about playing with, not just in terms of ecosystems, but in terms of the environment and stuff like that, but also just systems of ecology, so things that work together in networks. And I'm also really interested in sort of weird custom games controllers. So this is a Playdate, which we have access to, which has a weird little cranking controller. And it's a really accessible device, a couple of $100, really easy to play, very simple, not many buttons. And I quite like that idea of kind of thinking about design constraints. And so I've been making my research games for this. And those games are around sort of social responsibility issues. So one of the games I produced is a game about the climate crisis. And all my games have a kind of satirical take on them. I'm a big fan of magazines like Private Eye and sort of satirical politics. Because I think it's a great way to think about the world. And so in the games I've been creating, one is called Finisterre, where you play as effectively a lumberjack, cutting down trees, running around an environment, and in doing so you deplete the oxygen of that environment. And that is what actually kills the player. But the idea is to get the highest score possible. So it's kind of a play on this idea that you're in the competition of cutting down these trees, you're actually killing yourself, and kind of says something about the fact that we are actively destroying the climate. And that's it. Really simple. It uses the crank mechanism to sort of sharpen the blade and the D-pad to run around. That's it. The other game I'm making at the moment is something called GB Rail, which you can probably guess what that's about. And so that again is a satirical look at the current problems around public transport. And in that game, you manipulate squares to basically direct trains to platforms, and you get points for arriving in the right platform at the right time. And that's it. I think someone described it as a sideways Tetris type game. But with both of these games, and the Playdate in particular, you can side load them. So you don't have to have any publisher or distributor. You can put them on itch and anyone can just load them onto this device. And I think that's a really exciting and interesting way to get games that say something into players' hands really, really quickly. So I guess my video is just about thinking about things that are of interest to you that you might want to use a game to speak to players, to say something, to do something. It doesn't necessarily mean the players are going to change their opinion on the climate or the rail networks, but it might be something that you can play with and keep it really simple. So for me, that's my current research, is just how do you create simple games that try and say something about society through interesting mechanics.